nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
A lot of examples. Thank you.
Great.
I know we all would be having some questions to ask Vijay, but pardon me, in the interest of time, we have to move ahead. I have a couple of requests for other members. One is I can see quite a few new members joined in. We usually give some time to introduce themselves, but in the interest of time, we are going ahead with the next speaker. May I request everyone to introduce yourself with the two-liners in the chat? It would be great so that we can understand you, from whom you got to know and who you are. And the questions also can be related to the multiplier can be added in the chat, or we can carry on this discussion in the WhatsApp group. But hats off, Vijay. Thank you so much. Now, let's move ahead to the next presentation. The title is Magical Presentation. One of the beautiful part of the presentation is we have the presenter and the author of the book who is attending the meeting now, which is a special presentation for us. Without further ado, let me hand over to the presenter, Sri Vidya Nagaraju, in order to present the book. Over to you, Sri Vidya.
Thanks, Naresh. Namaskar and good morning to everyone. As Naresh said, it's a great honor, privilege to present in front of an author who's also a friend. It's definitely very privileged, I feel. So let's get started here. If can one person confirm that you can see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen. Please go ahead.
Thank you. So here is the book, what you see on the screen by Rajnikanth. And let's quickly understand about the book first. So name of the book is Magical Presentation. And in one author's words, it's a blueprint for making every digital presentation effective and impactful. And there are 31 chapters with 102 pages, and publisher is Notion Press, and you have both the paperback and the Kindle version. Let's understand a little bit about the author, the magician. He is the CEO of Win-Win Leadership Academy. He's a leadership expert, as we all know, and he's got 20 plus years of experience, impacted 20,000 plus people very effectively. And he's worked with all industries, and he's a continuous learner, be it a Vedanta, be it fitness, be it a magic, and so many things. And more important now for the context we are talking is he has delivered 320 magical presentations. So that makes him so authentic in writing this book. There are so much more about Rajni, but I'm just sharing key for the context of this book. Otherwise, I can go on for 10-15 minutes introducing Rajnikanth, the magician. Now, why should we go through this book or read this book? Because it is research-based, tried and tested, as I already mentioned, 300 plus presentations, so very well tried. And it is just not a book, but it's a workbook. It is not like just reading a book. It's completely, he's given exercises to do as we read. So it's like a training workshop. So it's completely a workbook. And he has shared simple, effective tips, tricks, tools, and frameworks which you can straight away implement. You don't even need any time for it. And it's applicable for whether you're online training or the offline training, it is applicable. So all I would just say is read, apply, and become a magical presenter. That's all we all look for, right? I know there are great presenters here. So perhaps this book, personally for me also, it was a reminder of a lot of things, but I also had quite a few new insights reading this book. While I would love to share the entire book because it is so good and every point is so relevant and important, but I will share few in this given point of time. So in this book, what magic do we have? What magical content we have? The book looks just simple, black and nice like this. But once you open, you will get a lot of colorful learnings in this book. And let's wait to see what is in store for us today in this presentation. So we have magic versus presentation, 5 elements and 5 P's, the magical framework which he has shared, And how do you prepare for a presentation in 5 minutes? That's an amazing tool. And how do you design some slides? And then, how do you use your knowledge? Audience analysis, engaging, how do you engage the audience? And the engaging tools we can use, and the golden circle. Finally, the last tell of the book. These are the few I have picked up among many concepts what he has shared. So first, magic versus presentation. Why is this author using the magic as a correlation to presentation? I'm sure when we think of this PC Sarkar or the Steve Jobs or Dr. Kalam, these are great presenters and he's a magician. What's common? Magicians are greatest presenters and great presenters are magic. The feeling we get, right, that wow feeling, that is what is required, is a common between both of them. So our author Rajnikanth has done that extensive study to see what is the commonality between these magicians and the presenters. And he has come up with some 5 common elements, whether it's Steve Jobs presentations or the PC Sarkar's magic show. So it's the difference is trick and the magic lies in how a magician presents the trick, right? I think that's the key in the whole magic. So let's get ready and learn some of these tricks of making a magical presentation. I hope we are all ready and looking forward to it. It starts from some simple things. While most of us might know a lot of, I know I see a lot of stalwarts here in the presentation. I also want to just thank some of my friends who've joined. One of my friends has joined all the way from Australia and many others have joined. Thank you so much. And this is very good. Our mentor is also here. His quote is, when big things are same, small things makes a big difference. Here, author has shared some small story of someone wanting to take a loan and going to different 2 banks where, and after shortlisting, we all do that, right? I could connect to it so easily. So go to 2 banks and one bank gave a good experience. Another bank experience wasn't good. Just the experience. Everything else, the rate of interest and system, easy of access, everything was same. I could see that difference recently when our, as family member was buying a car. We went to all the showrooms to see. But 2 of the cars brands we just rejected because when we walked in, nobody even could attend to us. While it was a fantastic. So let's pay attention to every small thing.
Rajini, you can mute Rajini. Yeah.
Thank you. So what are those 5 elements this author is talking about? Open with a high. In the initial few seconds, it's important to grab the attention of the audience. So how do we grab the attention of the audience? Open with a high. We can think of, there are various ways. The book talks about how you open it. We all remember the great talk of our Swami Vivekananda. I think his opening was the best part of that whole speech he delivered in America. So there are so many examples and he's narrated quite a few. So open with a high and then engage the audience throughout. So how do we engage the audience? With our smile, simple eye contact, bringing some humor, pausing. There are so many ways you can engage the audience, but it's important that consciously we make the effort to engage the audience. Keep looking for their body language and then, bring their energy. And then tell a story. Stories are very, very powerful. All of us know about it, how powerful it is. And picking a relevant story, it makes the audience engage so much. And Rajni has shared multiple stories in the book. I'm sure when you read it, you will enjoy it. And then have a surprise element. That's so important. Perhaps I guess you all had a little surprise with that little magical act I did. So that's a surprise element. How can I not do a small magic for a magical presentation? So some surprise element, if we can have, that'll make the audience more engaged. And then close with a message. Because when we leave is what the impact, they will hold on to what we have said at the last than whatever else we have said throughout. So closing with a bang is so important that they take that message. So consciously we need to choose that. And it's a magic, even if you know how it's done, even if you know the trick, but we still will enjoy the magic. I hope all of us are enjoying the magic happening through this presentation by our author, great Rajnikanth. When he talks about the 5 Ps, as he said, if you're just an expert in a topic, that doesn't guarantee you becoming a great presenter. But at the same time, you might be a great communicator, but you know what it is. So the 5 Ps are prior planning prevents poor performance. I love this quote, what author has used. I've taken the picture from the book as is. I'm the most spontaneous speaker in the world because every word, every gesture, and every retort has been carefully rehearsed. Then you know, right? Whoever claims to be spontaneous, yeah, there could be a little bit of spontaneity, but without preparation, even that spontaneity will not be effective. So that's the key. I'm sure we all agree and also are following that. Then the framework here is the meat of the one of the real magical framework has been shared here. We have to first tell what we are going to tell, and then tell what you really want to tell, and then finally tell what you already mentioned. So that's the 3 tell we need to remember. That's where tell. It's a reinforce we need. So now let's get into a little more details of what is the first tell. Give benefits to audience. Right? All of us want to know, why should I be here? What's in it for me? So when I'm preparing, I need to think what's in it for them, to my audience. Why would they want to listen to me? What is that they are looking for? That is what is important, not then what I want to learn and what I want to give, but give something what my audience want. And that's what you got to tell in the opening, saying this is what is there in store for all of us. Overview of the key message. What are the details I'm going to show? First start with the why, and then what details I'm going to show, and then build the credibility. Like author has done 300 plus workshops itself is so credible for someone to listen. Okay, yeah, now I want to listen to this if somebody's done so much of work. So that credibility also is important to mention in the beginning in whatever the form. And then this is the first tell of what you're going to tell. Now, what exactly are you going to tell? Remember the number 3. It's very magical, right? Everywhere we say 1, 2, 3, start. From our school days, sports to everywhere before start is 1, 2, 3. So 3 is a researched magical number, which is what our author says, that give 3 examples if you're talking about. So it will reinforce something, 3 concepts. This 3 is very magical. We can apply in all our preparation and presentation. And then stories, I will show a little more details about story in the next slide. And then also back it up with some data and facts. That is so important. While story touches the heart and the emotion, you also need that intellectual buy-in, which is what comes from data and the facts, which again, we will talk a little more about it. And then finally, when you're closing, again, reinforce the key message. That's what they check, tell what you've already told, and reinforce the benefits of what happens. And then finally have a call to action, which can be subtle. Like, Steve Jobs, when he presented the new MacBook, how he left that ending message that, everyone wanted to immediately go to a store and pick up that MacBook. That's a kind of call to action, either direct, indirect, subtle, or obvious, depending on that. We can leave that. Now, a little more to that story. What should be there in a story? We need to ensure there are characters, and if possible, have names to the characters, and the time and space. When did it happen? Normally we say, once upon a time there lived a king is what comes to our mind. See, every story should have a time and space and some drama in it, which brings all the emotions. Then there has to be a suspense element, and obviously there has to be a moral in the story. And there are that events, this happened, that happened. I'm sure I'll be narrating one of the stories from the book in a while. So when we talk about this data and the facts, this is what something very interesting caught my attention from the book. the FBEA quadrant. You got to talk about the facts, that what do you want people to know factually. As I mentioned, 20,000 plus people he's impacted, 300 plus, some specific numbers which should make relevance. So that's what, facts. Then the beliefs. We know a lot of things goes by the belief. If you say this is what is believed by so and so, the belief will play a lot of impact on the audience. And then emotions. Yes, we all love, right? The salespeople, I'm sure Subbu will agree with me, they tell the distance between the pocket and the heart is shorter than the distance between the pocket and the brain. So we need to touch the heart for someone to buy in. So that is all emotions we need to bring in. So with emotions, when we touch, bring in a lot of emotions. We know even the stock market goes with the emotions, right? If there is a fear, it'll come down, and if there's a positive, it goes up. So emotions do play. And then action. What is that we can do? This author has definitely given a lot of actions for us to practice during the read itself. It's like going through a complete workshop, learning a course. It's a course material as is. I mean, there's a lot more details, but I don't want to go into so much of details because I leave all of you to read the book for further details. But at least if I can trigger and encourage you to read the book and take some few insights through this presentation is all my objective here. So this is beautiful, right? When somebody, I'm sure most of us sometimes have experienced this, we don't have time to prepare. Somebody says, yeah, can you come and give a talk because a presenter is not there, or there is a need, whatever different reasons. And how do you prepare in 5 minutes? And the beauty of this framework is whether it's 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, we still can use this tool called mind map, irrespective of the time, but it is very handy when you don't have too much of time. So here, it's like any presentation. First, the center is what is the one message are we trying to convey? What are you trying to convey from this message? Then from the, once you decide the message, then the open tell. Connect back to the 3 tells. So open tell, how do you want to open it? What, give the benefits and what's in it for them. Overview of the key message, and then build credibility. So what am I going to say in these five things for the open tell? And next is the body tell. What am I going to actually deliver? So magical number 3 examples. So it could be example by fact, example by belief, and example by emotion. All the 3 if possible. What am I going to actually deliver? And how am I going to engage the audience? It could be by asking a question or bringing some surprise elements, show and tell, or a story, space, eye contact is so important, especially when we're doing an online, we have to look at the camera and talk, not look at the people and talk because they are looking at us. So when you look at the camera, it's the feeling is one-to-one and one-to-many. That's what even the author talks about in online. It's just not one-to-one. We need to go with this hybrid model of, I have to give an experience of as if it's one-to-one, at the same time one-to-many. So that's a critical eye contact process. And he also suggests that prepare a presentation assuming there are no slides, no PowerPoint, but use the mind map. I'm sure many of us do this mistake some point or other. Start preparing the slide first and then think of what to do. It should be the other way around. Focus on the message and delivery, and then finally use the slides for our visual purpose to convey the key message. So that's very important, the order in which you use, not the reverse order. I'm sure many of us can connect. So that's what its beauty of this book is. Now I use this mind map. He's given any presentation I need to make. I just need to fill in these little blocks. And then I'm ready for the presentation. And he also talks, this is not a new concept, right? There's verbal, vocal, and non-verbal. We've heard this many times, the percentage of effectiveness. What he also brings in here is the 2 other elements here is the congruence required. So verbal is all about the words, the language. It's for our ears. And then vocal is our tone, the volume, the modulation. That's the feeling. We can bring in the feeling through our tone. And the non-verbal is our gestures, postures, expression. That's for our eyes. Is it limited only to when we do a face-to-face? And the important, they have to be in congruence. What I am saying and how I am saying has to be in sync. Like I can't be saying, oh, you're so beautiful. I am saying, but I don't mean it, right? My expressions, my tone is not saying. So that congruence is important. I have to say, oh, you are so beautiful. And there is a congruence between that. You can read through the detailed examples he has shared. But what is again another important element here is even online, when you create slides, how do you apply the same thing for the slides? Which means don't have too much of words on your slides. 7% is all you need to have words on your slides. Right? And those the visuals is what creates a lot of things. That could be your the non-verbal, and the tone is the colors you choose. How do you put it together? What kind of emotions does it trigger? Does it brings that happiness you want to bring on, the sadness? So what kind of images? So even for the slides, this the standard what we have heard about the 755 and 38%, but it has to be in congruence. I love this analogy of bringing into both the sides. A good reminder definitely for all of us. And now the voice, it makes huge difference, especially now the online. Because people may not see us sometimes because we will be sharing the slides, so we will be in a small window, or some people may not even keep that. So it's your magical, you have to create the magic through your voice, primarily especially in the online space, but even offline it is important, but even more in the online, how do you create the magic through your voice? So there are three aspects here: the speed, the pace, and the pause. Pauses are very important. In fact, the author talks about multiple types of pauses. I like that. When do you pause so that people sink in what you have taught? Or pausing because you want to transition from one concept to another concept. Like that, he shared multiple pauses. That's very insightful. And pace at which you want to talk. Sometimes you have to go fast, sometimes you have to go slow, go with the audience, depending on who the audience, the age, the kind of audience, the pace has to be mapped. And then stretch and stress. Yes, some things you have to literally say. The most important element, the stretch, and also the stress on specific words here. That makes the audience listen to you, engaging. So it's very key. And then the pitch and the modulation. Sometimes, you want to say, I'm going to share a secret now with a very low volume, and, you grab the attention, or say, come on, let's do this. I'm going to share something so important right now. Can I have your attention, please? So we might have to play around with the pitch and the modulation. And again, the key is practice, practice, practice. I know Rajnikanth does practice, though he's done 300 plus presentation of this, but every time he says, if I don't practice, my effectiveness is not as good as when I practice. So even now, the previous day, he does practice. It reminds me, the great Amitabh Bachchan, a very seasoned actor, when he had to do his Kaun Banega Crorepati show, he actually, I believe, did a rehearsal of 50 times. If someone like him has to do it, all the more reason how many times we all have to practice. I tried my best to practice this week. Was challenging with a lot of COVID help seeking all around. I still tried my best to practice. And that is the secret for our win, is the practice. I'm sure all our mentor Ranga and Rajni, everyone reinforces this again and again for us. So while making this, the online slides, or when we're making any slides, he shares about 10 golden rules. I love the way he's come up with the numbers, and that, the choices of words are very, it creates a curiosity for us to learn more. 70% visual and 30% textual. Many of us use a lot of text on the slides. Again, depends on the context we can use. When we are making some technical, then it's a little different. But even then, this is a kind of guiding principle for us. And then no long sentences. In fact, we say no English, no language. You don't need a language. I mean, like, you need to just use the keyword, and you will talk about it anyway. So you don't have the sentences on the slides. Use neutral colors, because not everyone can connect to all colors. And some people can't identify the colors. So it's better keep a neutral color. Maintain the congruence, which we have already discussed about it, and not more than 2 types of fonts. Too many font types will distract. That's where the text and the tonality, all that makes a difference. I like this cut, cut, cut. I started with 50 slides. Now I've cut it down to some 20 odd slides. So keep on asking, do I really need the slide? Do I really need the slide? Because we have the tendency to put everything on the slide. Then what are we going to talk if everything is on the slide? Right? So it's not a manual. You explain orally, but PowerPoint is only for visual, or any slides. Highlight the key messages. That's very important. And font size, some people use very small or huge font size. We got to be wary of, again, the audience. If you have a larger audience, maybe we need to even use a bigger font on the slides. But in the online, so be mindful of font size, and not more than 3 to 5 messages for one session, for one set of slides, not per slide, but one set of slides. Otherwise, only one message per slide. But 3 to 5 key messages or key concepts you can share in one set of slides. And this curse of knowledge. I'm sure often when I went through this, when I read this book, I'm like, oh my God, I want to share all this because it's so good. Then the need, it was more my need to share everything in the book. And I had to pause and say, what is the time I have? Do I need to share everything? No. I need people to read the book. So I need to create the curiosity. Right? So the author has narrated one beautiful story here. Let me try and attempt to bring in that story here. It says there was a priest, and who would travel across the villages to share his wisdom. And he usually traveled in a chariot, and he had a charioteer to chauffeur him all around. So one day, somebody in a neighboring village 100 kilometers away invited him for a scholarly event to deliver a talk, where audience were 5,000 plus. And this priest was very excited, and he went on preparing day and night, saying, wow, I'm going to make a beautiful presentation. I want to make an impact. I want to share this. I want to share that. He went on preparing. All that one, he got ready, he got into that charioteer and started traveling that 100 kilometers. Here what happens? The weather changes. He's looking at all around. There are thunders, lightning, and it starts pouring. It starts pouring cats and dogs to the extent nobody could come for that talk because it was in the open ground. This priest was utterly disappointed. Oh my God, I've prepared so much, and what do I do now? He didn't have anyone else other than the charioteer. So he asked the charioteer, I'm so disappointed. What would you do if you were in my place? The charioteer says, sir, I don't know. You are such a knowledgeable person. I don't think I can say anything. But just to keep the conversations going on, he said, I can share an analogy. He says, I have 50 horses in my stable. And to keep them all healthy, I need to keep them feeding at least 3 times a day. And at times, I get shortage of my stock of food to feed them. And then I have to go to neighboring village to buy those food and come back. By the time I go and come back, some of the horses, or 49 out of 50, would go out in hunt of their own food. And here is where the priest, who was listening very attentively, then he asked, so what do you do with that food? Do you go back and return, or do you store it for some other day? He says, my lord, while the 49 has gone out to eat the food, this one horse is still waiting for me to feed. And I need to feed this one. The priest immediately says, wow, I'm enlightened today. I don't have to worry. Now you're there. Let me share with you all my knowledge. And he starts delivering this entire speech. Passionately, he goes on and on for 2.5 hours of a talk. After that, he asked, my dear charioteer, how was my presentation? Am I a good orator? Did you get enlightened? And he says, my lord, I did not complete my sentence earlier. I said, I need to feed that one horse, but I can't feed all the food I've got to him. I feed only how much he needs. Isn't it beautiful? Then then the priest says, thank you so much. I am now truly enlightened that I don't need to share all that. You can't digest. So we need to give people how much they can chew, not, not to, I keep saying in other language, we don't have to show our panditya pradarshana. It's not to demonstrate how much I know, it's to say how much I can share for my audience. So I thought this is a beautiful story, very well narrated in the book. And I like this closing. Presentation is not delivering all that you know. It is about delivering what my stakeholders, my audience want. How do we know what they want? That's the next question, right? And here is the answer for that. Then how do we know? Most often we don't know who our stakeholders are. So we got to do this homework, which is what the author talks about, audience analysis audit. That's AAA framework. So why are they here? So we need to do this homework. And how will they benefit? What can go wrong? Prepare what can go wrong. So keep a backup for whatever can go wrong. Now today's the internet can go wrong. So keeping some backup internet, if this goes backup, all that. So think of what can go wrong, and what are they like? How might they resist? And what's your call to action at the end? I think if we do this homework, then we will know how to prepare for our presentation. I like the logical flow in the book too. Next,
sorry to interrupt. It's 30 minutes now. Just want to give an alert. Thank you.
I'm looking at the time. Thanks, Nari. Thanks. So how can we engage? These are different engaging tools when we do an online session or even offline session. Both they are applicable, right? Showing a video, you can show a video, and then you can conduct some polls, quiz. We used to do that even offline. Now you have so many tools which will enable us. And these group activities we used to do physical, now you can do through breakout rooms. That's available for us. Then we can do some role plays. Either you do live or you can use a recorded role play. Conduct some activities. We have the whiteboard to use, where we see here very nicely, anytime it's available whiteboard, as if it's a whiteboard. Some people use a physical whiteboard at the back and write, but online tool, there is a whiteboard available also when we want to write something and some fun. There are so many ways you can engage the audience. So he talks about both online and the offline and the slides, what you can use. And these are some of the engaging tools. It's a summary of whatever different types of purposes, what tools are there. When you want to, these are the engagement tools, note-taking tools, online whiteboards, tasks, session planning, storage, service, videos. So these are the, some of them have mentioned, but I've just added a few more. I love this slide, which summarizes all of it. He's also mentioned about Prezi and other tools, which I'm sure we will love to hear all that. When we read, you will get more insights. Finally, it's not about the powerful tools using, it's about the powerful use of the tool. This reminds me a quote, one of my friend talks about it, Rajdeep Manwani. He keeps saying, Srividya, it's not about how powerfully you use the PowerPoint. No point in using a powerful PowerPoint if there is no power in your point. It reminded me of that quote, right? However it is, how do we use it? Finally, that's important. The speaker, the author's power. I could see that author's power in the book while he used all the frameworks, but how powerfully he's conveyed it. And then the most important is the golden rule. I'm sure many of us would have heard about this golden rule. I like the way he's made it simple for us here. So this is a golden rule, the inside out approach, not the outside in approach. Normally we all start saying, okay, what do I want to talk about? And then how I talk, then why I talk. But the order in which is first we need to focus on why, the purpose, and then the how, and finally the what. So for that, he's customized this golden rule to presentations like the simple way. First, why? Why should I present? Why should they listen to me, my audience? Think about it. Why? I was thinking this is, I have audience here who are stalwarts in presentations, many of them here. And then why should they listen? And probably one of the reasons is because their friend's book, our own book. So that could be one of the reasons. And also always we want some reminder. So what can I highlight from the book? So these are the thoughts. I've tried to apply all these frameworks while I was preparing for this presentation. I've made that effort as much as I could. So once the why is done, then the how comes in. So how should I deliver my message? Should I use a story? I have to talk about the book, and I want to stick to what is mentioned in the book and not talk about something else I know about in this. Maybe one or two supporting quote here and there, but try and stick to that and how. And then finally, what should be included in the presentations. That was a tough call for me to, out of 31 chapters, in the given time, I won't be able to cover. So what should I cover? And that was a tough call because the book is so beautiful. The last tell the author in his own words, I thought I should keep this as is than me summarizing in my words, but I thought it's good to listen and hear from the author's words itself. Maybe I'll just read out for all of us, though it's a text. It says, do the AA first before any presentation. Always start preparing with the mind map. Then after this, support your message with a visual representation. This is where you make the slides. Then build engagement into your presentations. Increase engagement and decrease participation in your virtual presentations. Just thought I may add something here. He's spoken very clearly what's the difference between engagement and participation. Simple example, when we watch a cricket match or a football match, are we engaged? Yes, right? We are engaged. We are like looking at it. Right. But in a presentation like this, sometimes we need people to participate, not just be engaged. So we need to take care of both. Engagement is where, participation is like I asked a question and some of you answered. So I can conduct a poll or different methodologies we have discussed. So that's participation. So we need to think, how am I going to engage the audience? And also, how do I make them participate, depending on the topic and the need. Maintain eye contact with the camera, which I was talking about online. We want to look at the people, right? But now we need to learn to look at the camera and talk. And practice it in a couple of times. And this is very important. Since I have a couple of minutes, maybe I will share a story after I do this for the how to talk about the camera. It's inherent with all of us, though it's not in the book, but it does definitely remind me of a beautiful story from our own Indian history. We've heard this great Patanjali. We have heard, right? Yoga. We have heard Patanjali for more of yoga, but he's also known for writing Sanskrit grammar in terms of rules, the sutras. So when the story is, there's one great guru who learned all this Sanskrit grammar, the sutras. He wanted to teach students, that too in a fast pace. So he decided to get some 1,000 students at a time. But at the same time, he wanted to give a one-on-one, that one-to-one feeling, as if that guru is teaching me personally, that one-to-one effect, but he wanted to do it fast. But he was very powerful. So he got everyone to a huge training hall and he put a curtain. He came in front of the curtain and told the students, saying, my dear students, I'm going to teach you, but only one condition. The star conditions apply. He says, today, or all these sessions, I'm going to be behind the curtain teaching you, and you're not supposed to open this curtain. All the students, they were very keen learners. They agreed and said, yes, Guru. And then the Guru goes behind the curtain and starts to teach. And amazingly, all 1,000 students felt as if the Guru was teaching him on one-to-one basis. So much of concentration, focus they could. And it went on for whatever, the entire course got completed. And then the graduation day comes. And some of those students, little naughty students, were curious to know what's behind the curtain. Why is this Guru behind? What's there? That curiosity was there. And they couldn't control. And some of them went and opened the curtain. And they could see Adishesha with 1,000 heads sitting there with so much of power. And these students did not have the capability to look at that. What happens later is a different story. But what I want to bring in here is, I think our India, this concept existed of this virtual training already. So it's there in our blood and DNA that we can do the virtual training, just get used to looking at the camera and talking, and I'm sure everyone will get that one-to-one effect. And back to author's messages. Visualize the audience during practice sessions. Seasoned radio jockeys and news anchors, they all do this. And storytelling is a key skill. People of all age groups relate to stories, and we are all good storytellers. Sharpen the art and science. Then fake it till you make it. Even if it's not natural, fake it. There are a lot of discussions about what this means, but I completely believe you start smiling even if you're not sad. Even if you're sad, start smiling and eventually you will start smiling. A simple analogy we can practice anytime. So fake it till you make it. And then the future is going to be more and more digital and less of face-to-face. Let's be prepared. And finally, if you are planning on a long work career, don't ignore the important, relevant skill of presentation skills. This is the final tell of the author. And my sincere suggestion is that please read this book. It is definitely a very good, excellent book to practice. I have shown few concepts shared here, and the book is available both paperback or the Kindle version in Amazon. Here it is. The link is there. We will share the link also on the chat box. And if you want to contact our author, the Rajnikanth, here is his coordinates. And maybe we can take few questions. Before that, probably I'll close the slides. And the beauty is the author is also there to answer any of the questions. And I really, really thank all of you for giving this opportunity. Thank you, Ranga, for being here. And Rajni, yes, and Naresh, and all of you, all my friends who have joined. Thank you so much. And we can have some questions possibly. And author can answer.
Thank you so much. Yes, the questions are allowed, but I just wanted to quickly take a few seconds to understand how Mr. Rajanikanth feels about the presentation, and then we can cover the questions. Over to you, Rajnikanth. What do you feel about the presentation, or did she spoke your heart?
Yes, thanks,
And
Naresh.
also allow some people to see who the author is. There are some new people who probably don't know Rajnikanth, so we'll put him on spotlight. Yes, Rajni.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Naresh, for the opportunity. Srividya, I'm really overwhelmed, overjoyed on this presentation. I'm not sure whether I'll be able to present this book in such a manner that you presented right now. Truly magical with a magic stint. I think you started with a surprise element. And as Naresh was mentioning in the chat box, each and every concept which was told in the book was beautifully followed in the presentation.
Yes.
And such a joy to listen to you. I'm sure, Srividya, you should read the comments when you are presenting. A lot of comments flowing from
I haven't read it yet.
Yes, you should take time to read it. But thank you so much. I consider it a big privilege to be here, and thanks for presenting it. Really, it's a big honor for me. And thanks all of you friends, Naresh, book club. I mean, I've been part of many, the book club for last 1 year, and it's a joy to really have your own book being reviewed. Thank you for this opportunity, Naresh, and the book club, and Ranga for guiding all of us. I think you are the lighthouse for all of us. We are moving towards the direction which you have set for us. And thanks again, Srividya. No words to say this. Thank you so much. Beautiful presentation. Thank you so much.
I also want to thank Ravi for triggering this idea. It was Ravi's idea saying, why don't we do this? And this is my first book presentation ever in life. So
you set the bar so high for each one of us. Thank you.
It was the magic of your book, Rajni.
Wonderful. And just one quick point from my end before I open the floor for questions. I saw you said 4 times that you have to read the book for further details. But I think I have the privilege of saying this because I read this book already. And I don't see much of a necessity to read the book as long as people listen to this presentation. I think most of the concepts are widely covered. Of course, there are few things which might have been missed in the interest of time, but major concepts are brilliantly covered in this presentation. Wonderful. Now, on that note, let me open the floor for questions. Does anyone have any question for Vijay or Srividya? We can take 1 or 2.
Rajni. Or Rajni.
Or Rajni for that matter, yeah.
Naresh, Subbu here. Can I go ahead?
Yes, please go ahead.
So no questions, observations. Thank you, Vijay and Srividya. Brilliant learning, and Vijay, a lot of learning for me on how to do sales interviews. My mind is thinking about a program, all the stuff. Created so much of thoughts. Thank you so much, Srividya. No words, absolute brilliance, and you have lived the book in this presentation. Thoroughly impressed from the slides, from the font used, from your own, from the examples you gave. So much it's like the book has been taken in a video form. Okay, that's what I felt like.
Absolutely.
So I also had the privilege of reading the Rajni's book immediately as soon as I got it. So covered, and brilliant, Srividya. Totally impressed. And one last point is about the book. This book, see what it tells you is like after reading the book, it clearly visible for me what are my mistakes in my presentation. It was very clear. It came out. At the same time, also came out what are the strengths I am having in my presentation. So your strength and weakness of your own presentation will be easily feel it on reading the book, so that we can strengthen our strengths and we can fill our gaps. So amazing book, Rajni. I'm sure I will read at least 10. Every quarter, maybe I will revise so that I'll become a better trainer and a better presenter, and great contribution to the world. And thank you so much, Srividya and Vijay. You made this day very useful.
Thank you, Subbu. Thank you.
Okay.
Rajani, can I provide a question?
Please.
So
I'm from Australia. He's my friend and a good colleague.
I'm a good friend and colleague of Srividya, so I'm not surprised by the way she presented. The second point I want to make, Rajani, I'm very impressed. I thought you looked familiar sitting there in the corner. I liked how it underscores there's a human element to it, to presentation, about the connection, which is extremely critical, especially during COVID. It's no BS. It's about how you connect as a human being. My question to you, which we all have a problem with at times, is, you know, one thing we can't get rid of, Sri and I have talked about, is managing your inner narrative or your negative voice when presenting.
Sorry, I mean, I missed your last sentence, Constantine.
Is how you deal with or how you acknowledge or manage your negative narrative, or we manage our negative narrative when we're presenting to an audience.
Yes. Thank you for asking, and thanks so much for joining us in this particular book review. So one aspect, I mean, how I try to manage is definitely visualization plays a very key role. So before the presentation, I mean, even I do it before every workshop, is to really visualize how the entire presentation will go and plan for uncertainties. And that is one input which I do every time. And the second is the question on the intentionality of a presenter. What is the intention of a presenter? The intention of a presenter is to really give value to people. The intention of a presenter is not to get appreciations or people coming and talking about that you have done a great work. I think this small mindset change, I was a victim of this for a quite long time and I was unable to crack it. This small mindset change for the last 3-4 years is really helping me. So, you know, Vedanta, we'll talk about it. You know, whatever we do is like, you know, you devote it to the God. We talk about Ishwara Arpana Buddhi. So just, what are you doing and why are you doing? The intention is clear. I think the results, you don't worry about the results. So that's how I set the mindset before every presentation.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can see Ravi's hand is raised. Ravi, do you want to say something about
Yeah, we are on top of the time, Naresh. So do you want to give a few more minutes or should we wind up? I just want to be
Yeah, we'll take another couple of minutes, and after your question or feedback, we can wind up.
Sure. Thank you, Naresh. So, Srividya and Rajani, last presentation first. So I want to just sum it up my feeling of listening to Srividya's presentation of Rajani's book, that you guys showed the mirror to me. Okay, so it's as simple as that. So much to learn. So thank you. And Rajani, I made a list of people to who I can present this book. So I know so many people who will need this, who will be benefited, not because they need, but because I'm genuinely interested in their growth. So I can give this book to them and their career will be, their future will be different because of this book if they read and follow. Thank you. Okay, so that I think sums up what a multiplier should be like, right? And so great presentation, great techniques that were shown there. And another statement I read, I'll just leave, I mean, I hope I can recollect it, but it had a great impact on me, is that, you know, if you are in a company, if you are a leader at whatever level, and you are impacting certain decisions, certain strategies, certain execution, or you are in charge of people's career, right? This is a statement, right? So is your company, or are you capable of, you know, creating a team where the team members give 20% additional effort voluntarily? right? So I think if we can create that kind of an environment, that is the great, example for who a multiplier can be, right? So that's what I got reminded of. Beautiful reinforcements today. Thank you so much, Vijay, for that presentation.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Ravi.
Ravi.
Yes, and so from my end, thank you so much, Vijay. I'm also at the guilt of not providing enough time for your presentation. Sorry about that, but we'll ensure for the rest of the items to be covered, we can have enough time for the next presentation. Yeah, thanks everyone for your time. There's nothing else, then we are good to close the meeting.
Thank you, Naresh. Thank you so much.
Thank
for
you.
joining.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Everyone.
Srividya.
Bye. Have a
Thank you,
fantastic
Vijay.
day ahead.
Actually,
That
just
was
type
a
it
great
in
presentation.
the chat
Sure.
box. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Keep safe. Stay safe.
And there's a way I can say the chat messages, right? So I can read it later. I didn't read it. There are
Leave
so many.
chat. I think there should be an option, Sri.
Yeah, there is an option. I have done it earlier. I'm just looking for it now. I forgot. I have done it earlier. Maybe I'll just copy paste.
Yeah. I think that also we can do. One second. Let me also send it to you in the chat box.
So while you check, I'm just keeping the meeting open so that you can check it.
Yeah.
A few moments.
I'm the host, Naresh. No problem. In case you want to leave, you can leave.
The
No
rest
problem.
of them can leave.
Okay, then I'll leave. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.